Hi, yeah. Thanks for having me. Thanks to the organizers. My name's Peter Turner with the Sydney Quantum Academy and Macquarie University, and wanted to tell you a little bit about certainly my experience in Australia in the last 3.5, 4 years and all the amazing things that have been going on in the quantum space, and in particular, the development of what was called the Australian Centre for Quantum Growth, which will be known by the trade name Quantum Australia, hence the slight change in title here. So in order to tell the story of the Growth Centre, which is very, very new, I need to tell you a little bit about what's going on in Australia and in particular the Sydney Quantum Academy where I work. So starting off here, forgive me if you've seen these slides from our chief scientist, Kathy Foley, recently. This was a roadmap by CSIRO, the Australian Industry and Science Organization, mapping out quantum several years ago. And again, this is just since I've been there in Australia the last few years, predicting numbers like on the order of 20,000 jobs by 2045 in Australia, getting things like special reports written by think tanks in the country, getting quantum tech explicitly added to the list of priority research and development areas for the federal government. A big announcement from the previous federal government, which was replaced by the next federal government not too long after, but similar quantum theme along these announcements. Culminating just over a year ago in Australia's National Quantum Strategy. So this was released in May of last year, being driven by the Department of Industry, Science and Resources in particular. So a lot going on. Alongside that, there's been development of an industry body, dedicated quantum industry body, sitting under the Tech Council of Australia, with some names that you might recognize, including from our previous speaker. So the industry side and the government side both working together in the quantum space to move things along quite a bit. Now, zeroing in on New South Wales and Sydney in particular in Australia, here's a quick map of where 108 quantum experts in the Sydney quantum kind of ecosystem, I guess, across the 4 universities, quantum active universities in Sydney, up in the top right corner there. This is where we ask these experts to self-identify where they are in the quantum space, computing, communications, and sensing. But just to give you a scale of everything that's going on, if you're quick at counting, you'll see that there aren't 108 names in that Venn diagram, and that's because not every academic in the community responds to our emails in a timely manner. But to give you an idea of the scale of the quantum expertise in Sydney in particular, and this led 5 years ago to the creation of the Sydney Quantum Academy. Apologies, I think when I shrunk the pictures for these slides, we had a bit of a mismatch there. But yeah, established in 2019, the Sydney Quantum Academy is a pretty unique partnership. It's an unincorporated joint venture, and that's important for the model that the Growth Centre we're going to talk about soon as well. It's a joint venture between these 4 quantum active universities, Macquarie University, University of New South Wales, the University of Sydney, and the University of Technology, Sydney, where those over 100 quantum experts largely work. It's not a research organization. The vision is building Australia's quantum economy. We're working with academia, industry, and government to kind of harness that amazing collective quantum expertise that I had on the last slide to develop diverse talent, in particular, training in the quantum space, and also develop a globally recognized quantum ecosystem, so a lot of ecosystem building that we've done. And we do that through training, through connecting people in the community, promoting and advocating for quantum, and providing trusted advice on quantum strategy to, for example, the state government. So that's the SQA. A little bit more. We run something called the Sydney Quantum Experience PhD program. So this is our flagship program. We've supported in full or in part over 160 PhD students across those 4 universities. We also do undergraduate programs, getting students into those research groups for 6-week summer studentships. And more we find ourselves doing outreach, so going down into the workforce pipeline that I'm sure you've heard a lot about at this conference and others in the quantum space, trying to address the critical need for talent. Alongside of that, we also do kind of reports, I guess, in the quantum workforce more widely. So A project that we completed last year was the Quantum Future Skills Assessment. So gauging Australian industry understanding for readiness in quantum tech, going out and doing both a qualitative and a quantitative phase in trying to learn what the community across Australia, in particular the industry in Quantum Australia, where they were at in their quantum journey, as it were. And that's actually available online if you wanted to look at that snapshot last year of where largely Australian industry is in the workforce piece. More recently, we've worked with, again, Department of Industry on the National Quantum Collaboration Initiative. So this was a consultation across the country with over 200 stakeholders, sort of much wider cross-section of the quantum community across the country. Looking at those, the first slide I had up, those CSIRO roadmap numbers on how Australia is going to reach, I think it was 19,600 quantum and quantum-related jobs by 2045. So we really, working with some collaborators, we really worked on modeling that out, seeing what that would look like, and given, attrition rates, people moving on, people dropping out, people going to industry, all, not bad things, but a total of something like 33,000 students would need to start quantum training between now and then in order to hit those numbers. And that curve on the right is kind of just a generic curve on how, in the early days, a lot of that training needs to happen on the graduate and the PhD scale. Something we heard about if you were in the session across the road just after lunch. A lot of need for PhD level training, certainly in the early days of quantum, and over time, that would become a much wider kind of cross-section of people being trained in quantum at the more technical level. And that report's been submitted to government, and hoping to see some recommendations coming out of that in future policy. So the point is that the SQA did a lot of this kind of thing in workforce, but we also did ecosystem building, and probably a few of you are aware of the Quantum Australia Conference and Careers Fair that was run in Sydney for the last 3 years. I think it's fair to say that this really raised the profile of quantum, not just in Australia, but Australia's profile in quantum around the world. This is a non-academic, well, fair to say, I think Australia's biggest non-academic quantum conference and careers fair that really put things on the map. And I think also fair to say that this helped to show to government in Australia how big and how active the community was, and how much appetite there was around the world for learning more and coming in and getting involved in quantum in Australia. And that brings us to the Growth Center conversations. So just a few months ago, the federal government announced the award of over $18 million to a consortium of research institutions, industry partners, and quantum companies to establish Quantum Australia. So we've taken the name directly from the conference, the new national center to help grow quantum industry and ecosystem in Australia. So this was a proposal that the SQA was intimately involved in, as well as many other partners around the country, in kind of taking what we've learned through the SQA and others through that conference and other activities on what we can do in Australia going forward in the quantum space. So that consortium is pretty impressive, if I say so myself. It's made up of university partners, strategic partners, industry partners, and government partners. So on the right there are the university partners. There are 13 founding establishment universities in Quantum Australia, the Growth Center. They are they really bring obviously the quantum expertise to this endeavor. So the strategy here is that by having the universities largely be the founders, much like the SQA model, I should say this is an unincorporated joint venture, just like the SQA, with these 13 universities as the key contributors. That kind of locks in the quantum expertise. All of these universities across Australia have large quantum research groups, and so the problem of going out and finding quantum active people is lessened by having them come in at the establishment level. So, alongside these university establishment partners, there's on the order of 20 or 25 strategic partners. I mentioned the CSIRO, the Government Science and Industry Research Organization in Australia, others, research centers, professional groups, venture capital, et cetera. They've come in as strategic partners with the center. And companies on the left here, many of whose names are represented at this conference here. And alongside all of that at the bottom, there are 6 state and territory governments in Australia coming in as well as contributors at the establishment level of the Growth Centre. So quite a large consortium. We heard this morning from, I believe it was the Dutch ambassador, saying if you want to go quickly, go alone, and if you want to go far, go together. The Growth Centre is definitely in that latter category. So what are the main programs that the Growth Centre are proposing? And I should say it's very early days. As I say, this was just awarded a few months ago, and the establishment committee put together from those universities and others are working on getting this up and running as we speak. But the proposal has 3 main themes. One, ecosystem development, so that Quantum Australia conference, which maybe some of you have been able to attend over the last 3 years, will transition into the Growth Centre and become a national rotate around the country every year. And plans for that are ongoing, I believe, to have in Brisbane, in Queensland, in early 2025. Networking events and kind of being a front door for quantum in Australia for people that are interested around the world coming in. The second theme is what we're calling a kind of translation accelerator. There'll be nodes around the country, largely in those 6 states, those 6 state government partners that we mentioned. And they will have kind of business development activities, probably, but not necessarily working out of the university representatives in those nodes, on trying to match up technical capabilities within and without those universities in and around the nodes with needs in the broader industry. So a lot of industry-academia partnership development. And finally, a third theme in entrepreneurship support. So the goal of this program is very much to increase the number of quantum startups being generated in Australia. I'll say just a little bit more before wrapping up. On the ecosystem and translation side, we kind of see it as a bit of a spectrum here, going from the left, if you're thinking about industry, those that are not yet engaged, watching and learning, participating in developing strategy, actively engaged, and engaged in advocating. So kind of a journey, if you like, for industry in the quantum space. And if collaborators are on the left side of this in the early part of that journey, then they'll be hopefully participating in that ecosystem development theme around coming to the conference, coming to some of the events that the Growth Centre will be putting on, learning more and more, and pushing themselves to the right along this spectrum. And then those industries and collaborators that are more knowledgeable in the quantum space or more experienced will be participating more in that second theme of the Growth Centre, doing translation acceleration. So really working together with the Growth Centre nodes, finding partnerships with university researchers or vice versa, having academics find partners in industry to go out and go after grants, for example, challenge programs, et cetera, which are other programs that are being run in Australia at the same time to try to push them even farther to the right along this picture. And then the entrepreneurship program, the third theme is, like I say, the main goal here is to get more startups founded in Australia in the quantum space, and I say anywhere in the country. And the program is based on others' best practice that we've seen around the world. There'll be some boot camps, there'll be some kind of events where we can also get students and postdocs around the country involved and exposed to the entrepreneurship piece. But in particular, this program, the Growth Centre, will offer 12 to 18 months of support for individuals or small groups to take part in this journey, roughly broken up into 3 phases. Largely, the stereotype would be taking scientists, engineers, people from academia who have actionable intellectual property, and supporting them to build their business case and put them in a place where they can actually, after 12 to 18 months, stand up in front of potential investors and pitch their business idea. And that would be direct support from the Growth Center for those kinds of people. So, and it will be recruiting internationally, we hope. So I'll wrap up with that. I talked a little bit about SQA and very much on the training and workforce side of what we've been doing, and how that model helped to create Quantum Australia, the new Growth Center, which is national, and encourage you to follow up with us, either the SQA or Quantum Australia, depending on what you're interested in, and you're always welcome to do so. So with that, I'll say thanks very much.